Wallabies squad, folks, is out for the Rugby Championship. Eddie Jones has named his first squad. He's named a couple of training squads up until this point, but this is kind of getting down to the business here. We'll go through the names, and then the names who are not named, and then the names who's named but not as part of his squad, if that makes any sense. It'll all become clear. Forwards, Fazla, Parecki, and Ulisse. Those are his hookers. He seems to have liked Matt Fazla from what he's seen from him playing for the Reds thus far this year. He is one of several uncapped players. And, he was part of the training camps earlier in the year. So, like I said, clearly Eddie has got a thing for seeing the potential of this 24-year-old. Parecki is probably your established guy with 10 tests at 30 years old. And then Ulisse, if he could stay fit, can be a great player, but he's just always injured. So Eddie's taken a wee gamble on him. Don't worry, we'll get to the guys who got missed out shortly. Props-wise, Ala Alatoa, Gibbon, Nongor, Slipper, and Tupou. Interesting points here. Nongor is one of your uncapped guys, only 22 years old. He's been playing another one for the Reds who's been playing really well this year. So pleased for him. It's a big jump up though for test level, so good to see how he can do once he gets into the mix. Slipper is co-captain alongside Michael Hooper, so maybe taking a little bit of pressure off Hoops. And then Tupou, he's been out for a long time, but straight back into test match rugby for him, so hopefully he is kind of ready and rearing to go. Locks wise, you've got an Arnold on the board, and he starts with an R, but it's not Rory, it's Richie, who's been playing for Toulouse, so big call for him to be picked, but he's a big old unit, that guy. He's always kind of played second fiddle to his brother, but with his brother not playing any rugby right now, Richie gets the nod, so well done to him. He's one of several kind of French or overseas, like Japanese team picks. I look for Western Force guys, but there's none, but you can see overseas guys for sure. Richie Arnold's one of them. Nick Frost is still in, Jed Holloway, and Will Skelton is another one of your French-based players. I would love to see him replicate the form that he shows in France for La Rochelle for Australia. I reckon Eddie can get it out of him, but we will see. It's a kind of old locking combo when you consider Arnold's 32, Holloway's 30, and Skelton's 31. Nick's the only guy in his 20s for your locks. I say that in a sporting term because all these guys are significantly younger than myself. Rob Leota's back. He's kind of one of your lock loose forward hybrid players. He's not played rugby for a long time either, so it's a big call for Eddie to go for Rob, but yeah, he must have been liked what he's seeing from him in training or something, or based on reputation, because I don't think we've seen him play literally all year. He got injured at the end of last year, and he's just been out for forever. Michael Hooper is still there, and as I said, co-captain this time with Slips. Tom Hooper is kind of one of your bolters, the Brumbies Lucy, another 22-year-old who makes the jump up from Super Rugby level to Test level. Fraser McWright's been in phenomenal form. For mine, it's been the form Aussie 7 this year, but we'll see how he goes battling it out with the Aussie co-captain. Pete Samu is there, along with Rob Valtini, who himself has been in phenomenal form as well. For the backs, you got Ryan Lonergan, who is another one of your uncapped guys. Eddie's not been afraid to pick some guys who've not been getting that much in the way of test match caps in the past, but he has been in the Wallabies squad before. Tate McDermott's there, and you kind of expect to see Tate there at this point. I mean, he's been in the Wallabies squad for we all know he's got himself 21 caps. And then Nick White, the veteran and Brumbies teammate of Ryan Lonergan, he continues on. Very much an expected pick too. Interestingly, the call with the 10s is Quade Cooper, who's back in the squad after not playing for the Wallabies since he got injured in the Rugby Championship last year, 35 years old. And then Carter Gordon, the 22-year-old who's uncapped. So a lot of people are saying Carter Gordon fits Eddie Jones's style right down to the ground, and he'll be the guy that he goes with. I would love to see that guy get a crack, because in a Melbourne Rebels squad that has not been that flash at times this year, the guy continued to just have amazing stats and play unbelievably well. Midfielders, Foketi, Ikitau, and Parise. That's kind of pretty steady as she goes. Ikitau's been in phenomenal form. Parise's back into the Wallabies mix after getting injured last year as well. Hodge is kind of one of your jack-of-all-trades player. He could play in the midfield, or he could play further out in the back line. Outside backs, Corin Betty is one of your overseas picks. He's back as well. Nawani Tawase, who had a good run with the Wallabies at the end of last year. Vunivalu, he's back in the Wallabies mix after missing out, for a while under Dave Rennie. And then Tom Wright, who has been in phenomenal form at Super Rugby as well, despite maybe not having his best game in that final game of the Brumbies season. And then they've named 3 utilities. Josh Kemeny, uncapped Rebels loose forward. Ben Donaldson, who I guess is the next guy to play 10 in case anything happens to Carter Gordon or Quade Cooper. And then Dylan Peach is one of your outside back covers, who's another of your uncapped guys. So that's the main squad. Now, the answer to where is an insert name here is probably answered by where's Max Jorgensen, that kind of exciting young prospect for the Waratahs. Well, he is alongside Tom Robertson, Isaac Ryder, and Corey Toole on the not considered due to injury list. So Corey Toole had a phenomenal season as well for the Brumbies. If you were looking for the guys who topped the Aussie, like run meters, tries, clean breaks, all those kind of stats, that was him. But remember, he got injured for the Brumbies at the end of the season. He did play in their final match, but only off the bench. So his injury must be worse than was initially let on. There is a rehab group of Angus Bell, Matt Phillip, Longy Gleeson, Andrew Callaway, Samu Karevi, and Jordan Pataya. So it would seem those guys are still in the mix, but not ready to be in the squad yet. And then on top of that, you've got kind of a secondary train-on squad. So it's like the extended playing squad. I mean, I guess if the All Blacks can name a bloody second 15 to go to Japan, the Wallabies can name a further train-on squad. It's got the likes of a Falau Ngata and Lockie Lonergan. So those guys who've been in the mix before: Pone Fa'amasili, Lambert, Scoop, Talakai, Josh Cadham, Caden Neville, Salakai Aloto, who's back in Australia after finishing a stint with the Saints, Darcy Swain, Ned Hannigan, Charlie Gamble, Charlie Cale, Lockie Swinton, Brad Wilkin, Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson's maybe an unlucky one after the work rate that he showed, but he is also in an extended squad. A force player in Fines Lelawasa, he is there, goodness gracious me. Tuttle, Jake Gordon. Jake Gordon's one of the guys who maybe misses out. Bernard Foley, James O'Connor, Josh Fluke, Hunter Paisami, Joey Walton, Lockie Anderson, Jock Campbell, Filippo Zalgunu, and Seru Uru. So goodness gracious me, that's pretty much everybody in Aussie Rugby. I mean, I'm thinking Noah Lolasio is the kind of biggest loser in that all of this, he couldn't make any squad, but he essentially lost his Brumbies starting spot to Debrasini at the end of the year. Rory Arnold's not been playing rugby, so he wasn't considered. Harry Johnson-Holmes, I think, is injured, but doesn't make the kind of rehab group. Muirhead's been in the Wallabies mix before, but not enough to make it. I thought Jeremy Williams for the Force has had a good year, but apparently not even enough to make the kind of extended squad for the Wallabies. So yeah, you guys will have to let me know what you reckon about this Wallaby squad. Like I said, the initial one is not that big, but the extended one is pretty massive. There's a few uncapped guys here. Who are you most excited to see play? For me, it's Carter Gordon. I know that's kind of a little bit of a, we always like to focus on what the bloody 10s are doing, but what can I say? I would like to see how he steps up at test level. They've got South Africa away, then Argentina and New Zealand at home in the Rugby Championship, and then one more match against New Zealand in the Bledisloe to go after the Rugby Championship, plus then the Rugby World Cup warm-up matches. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, folks. Thoughts on Eddie's first squad. How do you reckon they're going to go? Some people saying dark horse for the World Cup. Some people writing them off already. Where do you stand? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.